Welcome guys to another episode of Gianni Drive, and today I have my RX-7 and I have a 996 911. So I wanted to drive these cars and see how they compare to each other. Today the prices are right about the same. A clean FD like this one will cost you maybe $40,000, and also a 996 that is in good condition will cost you about the same. So as far as power is concerned, the FD is stock, so it's making around 250 horsepower. It's very low on torque, it's around 220. This one makes around 315 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque. So it's about 50 more pound-feet of torque on the Porsche, and also around 70 more horsepower. So this one is faster, but this one is not a slouch either. When it comes to 0 to 60, this one does it in around 4.9 seconds. That's what it did when new, and this will do it around the same time. This one is around 2,800 pounds and this one is around 2,950. So it's not that much of a difference. So the reason Porsche should be faster obviously is more horsepower, and then the weight is in the back, so it's pulling traction down better than the FD would. But as you have seen, with times of 0 to 60, it doesn't make much of a difference. So this is 10 years older than that one. So when you're looking at them from the outside, they are pretty much the same size. The 911 look a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, but it's a newer car and it has a bigger wheels. So from the back, I think the FD looks much better, but 911 is not bad looking either. From the sides, I don't know, I think because of the extra vent over here, the FD kind of wins on this one too. The front, I don't know, the FD is a little older, but because of these headlights, I think that's why the Porsche loses on the front. I think the FD looks much better. I know I could be biased. So now let's listen to how they sound. Let's hear it. Okay, so that's the FD. Now let's listen to the 911. Well, there you have it. There's not even a comparison. The Porsche wins this one hands down. That exhaust sounds pretty cool. So in terms of the interior, they both have black interior. This one has power controls and memory presets, and it's a 6-speed manual transmission, and it has these little tiny window controls, and you can see the AC, and then they have the PSM, which is a stability control. You can turn it on and off. It does have some plasticky side. They have a nice glove box, and it has Alcantara on the top. You have 5 gauges, which are tradition with Porsche, with the tachometer in the middle. In terms of amenities, I think Porsche wins this one because it's more modern. Also, it does have a rear seat, which the RX-7 doesn't have. But if you buy RX-7 from Japan, they actually do have a rear seat. In terms of interior space, Porsche has a lot more interior space compared to the FD. This one is telescoping steering wheel. You can move it up and down. So the FD, again, black interior, nice steering wheel. It does have 5 gauges here also. Tachometer is in the middle, similar to the 911. It's a 5-speed manual transmission, and you have your controls there for AC and everything else. The top is the vinyl, and these seats, although they are 30 years old, they have held good. And then you have your little tiny control for the window, similar to the 911, but the audio system in here, it used to have Bose audio system the same way the 996 has. It does have the sunroof just like this one. So the interior, they are kind of similar, but this one is limited in space. In the back you only have shelves and you cannot adjust this one, and then the seats are manual control. This feels more like a race car when you're in here, but for the Porsche it feels more like a GT car. Oh yeah, it's a little bit of body roll. So you do get a little bit of tire noise in here. Just came to this road so I can see the handling dynamics of the 911. So far, I'm quite impressed, but on the freeway, because the engine is on the back, the front can feel a little bit floaty. The front start to move from side to side. Maybe it's this car, the suspension might be 20 years old now, and it might need a refreshment, but on the freeway, it's a little sketchy. It does move a little bit from side to side. Other than that, it picks up power very well. So this 911 carries its weight very well. And it feels much smaller compared to the RX-7. RX-7 feels a lot heavier when you're in it. In this kind of road, you don't have to wait for the turbo to kick in or the supercharger. You can just go. There is power almost everywhere, all the way to over 6,800 RPMs. Because of the way the engine is located, it feels like the car is just pushing you forward. Well, immediately the seating position feels a little bit different. I feel like I'm sitting much higher on this car. So the way they deliver power is very different. This one is very smooth. You can barely hear any noise in this car from the engine. But because of the heavy steering, it makes this car feels more solid. Like it's more planted compared to the 911. Let's see if my brother would drive a little faster this time. Oh, you still want to drive like a grandmother. Yeah, it's a little bit more body roll on this one. Let's get it on to boost. Get going. 5,000 RPM, you're moving. So after driving both cars, my RX-7 and the Porsche, I don't know which one I like the most. The Porsche driving dynamics are undeniable. I would have to say it's a very hard choice to make. Both drives very well. They both have their own distinct characteristics. The 911 having the engine on the back, it feels like the whole car is pushing you forward. And the steering wheel is very light. The only thing I can say about the 911 I did not like is the front end. When you're on highway speeds, it tends to lift a little bit. It tends to move from side to side. When it comes to my FD, that feels solid. Although it's lighter than the 911, it feels heavier. And I think that's because the engine is on the front, so all the weight is on the steering wheel. If you're buying a daily driver, I would probably recommend the 911. But if you want a weekend car that feels like a race car, I'll get the FD RX-7. Because that engine, you have to rev that engine to get any power from it. Which one would you pick? It's a hard choice. I already picked the FD RX-7. If you are looking for an RX-7, maybe also look at the 996, 911, because they both have good characteristics and they also have some issues. So that 911 has the IMS bearing, which you need to take care of. It costs about $2,000–3,000. The water pump usually goes on those 911, and also they have a rear main seal leak, so that's also common. But the FD has issues of its own. It doesn't like heat, it doesn't like the summer, you also need to rebuild that engine at around 80,000 miles. So both engines have issues that can detonate the engine without any warning. If you are buying either one, make sure you have some extra cash on the side for when things go bad, because they will on these cars.
I prefer this one for daily driving. That one, it feels more like it's a punishment, especially on these rough roads. It's a really rough ride. In my opinion, this car has everything. It's you can daily drive it, you can track it.
So what you're saying, the 911 is the car that does it all?
Yeah, that's my opinion. RX-7, it's a fun car, but it's not a car that you want to drive every day. It's too rough, and also it has become a collector's item, so it kind of feels like an investment, so you don't want to abuse it too much.
The 911 also is an investment. These cars will be $50,000-$60,000 in not too long.
Yeah, but I feel like you have a lot of 911. They are still making the 911s.
If I give you $40,000, which one of these would you buy?
I don't know, I'm biased towards Japanese, 90s Japanese podcast. If I had the money, personally, I would buy that one, but I've never been a big fan of 911s, but driving one today, I can appreciate and I see what people like about them.
Alright guys, there you have it. My brother who have been driving my FD RX-7 more than I do. We both agree that the RX-7, it feels more special. When you are in there, it feels like a cockpit and you are ready to do something. It's tight, the seat hugs you better, so they will keep you in place. The bolstering is better. 911 seats, they are comfortable, but they are not all that supportive. So in conclusion, I am going to keep my RX-7, and if I ever were to sell the RX-7, I'll get the turbo 911.